All right, so it's day 33, I think, today. What at least a little better morning it is today. At least it's not raining. We still have some overcast skies, but it's not raining. Yesterday it just rained all day long. It was pretty miserable. So have a 300 plus mile day today to do. So the place doesn't open up until about 8 o'clock, so I got to hang out till then, and we'll grab some coffee, fill up with gas, and hit the road shortly thereafter. Now, one piece of advice I'm going to give you, and if you come up this way, you got to learn to be patient, because a lot of these places have short staffing, so we're waiting. All right, so what's going on here at this place is that they just fired the guy who pumps the gas and stuff, so they've got nobody else to take over. They got one girl who's cooking, taking money, and she's supposed to come pump gas, and they've got nobody else to take this guy's place. So all right, I'm gonna go get my stuff. If they get out here by the time I do that, great. If not, I guess I'll have to push on down the road to Toad River and grab some gas there. So while I'm hitting the road here on day 33, let me get you caught up a little bit on the story of the guy who got fired last night at the Liard Hot Springs Lodge. See, there was this young guy in his 20s that was working at the end, and he seemed to be a pretty nice kid, when I was talking to him anyway. But I guess he decided that he wanted to hook up with some young lady, and he brought her back to his room. Now, from what I gather, there's probably some kind of policy against doing those kinds of things while you're, again, working at the inn, even though they are providing you with a place to stay for the summer, again, while you are on site. So while I was downstairs having my carrot cake for dinner, I was the only one left in the dining room, and the three people who were working there, 2 women and this young guy, were there, and they start up this conversation about the kid bringing this girl back to his room. And well, it escalated a little bit, and the kid basically said, well, F you, I can do whatever I want, and we'll see who wins this fight. And I think about that time they realized I was sitting there, so they calmed down a little bit. Well, the next morning when I got up to go down to breakfast, there was only one of the young ladies working there, and the other one had either been dismissed or she left, and the kid who was pumping gas and doing odd jobs around the place, he had also been dismissed. Now, as I had mentioned previously, all of this left those of us wanting to get gas kind of sitting around waiting. So eventually another woman came and showed up, and she was the manager of the place, and she came out to, again, open the gas pumps for us. And as I was getting my fuel, she and I started having a conversation, and I, of course, said, yeah, I was sitting there last night while they were having this argument. And she goes, oh, really? What happened? And so, of course, I told her. Again, I don't want to get the kid in trouble or anything, but I just had to be honest with her and tell her what I saw. Now, all in all, though, I still really enjoyed my stay at the Liard Hot Springs Inn, and I can still recommend it, right, if you are in the area and you don't want to camp and go into those hot springs. Stop for construction. Looks like it's going to be about 20 minutes. Extended waits like this are just part of the deal when you're traveling the Alcan highway. So you can't get upset about it, you just kind of have to relax. But at least in this case, it was in a beautiful area, so I snapped a couple of pictures. Unlike the last time when I had an extended wait, this time I was able to come up to the front of the line, which is a really big plus. And I was just glad that I wasn't stuck at the back of this long line of traffic. The area that I was riding in along the shores of Muncho Lake and then through Muncho Lake Provincial Park, I think is my second favorite spot on the Alcan. That is after the ride between Haines Junction and Destruction Bay. I just wish I had that blue sky in front of me rather than behind me. So this is Toad River. It's about 117 kilometers or 73 miles away from Liard Hot Springs. Oh boy, here's another one of those scary metal bridges. Finally, I made it to the stop that I was really looking forward to. Testa River Hot Springs Lodge and RV Park, which is known to be the galactic center of the cinnamon bun universe. All right, so this is a stop that I have to do. I've come all the way up here. I cannot come here without stopping at Testa River Lodge for a cinnamon bun. All right, so a hot cup of coffee and a hot cinnamon bun. Not sure I'll be able to finish it. These are so good, but I'm gonna be in a coma afterwards. All right, so I survived the cinnamon bun. So I'm back on the bike. Fort Nelson, gas up, and on to Pink Mountain for the night. In Fort Nelson now, shedding the layers. It's now over 70, so turned into a nicer day. 2.5 hours left for the day. And of course, more construction. I'm at Pink Mountain now, basically in the middle of nowhere. And of course, there's construction going on right in front of the hotel. But anyway, so it's kind of a little truck stoppy kind of a thing. But they got a restaurant here. They have a bar. It's actually a pretty decent little place, considering. Now, this is $175 with taxes and everything Canadian. It cost me like $128 US. So, I mean, you know, that's probably about what it's worth, I guess, back in the US, you know. But anyway, it'll do for the night. Not the greatest place in the world, but like I said, it'll do. So let me say one other thing here, that last night at Liard Hot Springs, They were under a boil water advisory, so you're not supposed to drink anything. Well, same thing here. You're not supposed to drink the water, so you have unlimited free water that you can get down in the restaurant, so that's cool. They also have no soap here in their bathrooms, but I come prepared. So the reason I decided to stay at this place was twofold. One, it's right at that 330-mile mark today, which is around where I want to stay, around the 300 miles or so. But also, Peter and Stephen and I stayed here on our last trip, so it's kind of a nostalgia kind of thing. So they actually camped in the back. Well, I got the hotel room. I'm like, are you insane? They have rooms here, they have a hot shower, and you're gonna go camp? Hi there, how are you? Well, unfortunately, they have no non-alcoholic beers, since I'm now a teetotaler. But I have some iced tea, so I'll take that for now. Sit out here and enjoy the sun, because I haven't seen much of it. And then after I'm done here, we'll go in and grab ourselves a bite to eat. So I'm sitting here having some coffee, and I look down next to me, and there is a book there. Let me show you what it is. Henry David Thoreau, Walden, or Life in the Woods. Now, that's kind of fitting since I'm on this trip, but also this is written about Boston. While staying at the Buffalo Inn, I got to meet another group of guys who were on their way up to Alaska. I also got to spend a little bit more time with this guy, Francisco, who was with me at Liard Hot Spring. Okay, all packed up. Here we go, off to Prince George. It wasn't too far into the day before I had to pull over and put on my AEROSTICH triple-digit gloves. Stopping at a rest area here because I can take those lobster claws off. These things are lifesavers. I love these things. But I can take them off now. The sun is shining, and I'm gonna take one of my layers off as well because things are starting to warm up. Unfortunately, stopping probably means I have to pass a few more trucks again, but oh well. So I'm going to deviate here from the Alcan highway. I was talking to Francisco back at the lodge there, and he told me he talked to a local that said that Route 29 here is a gorgeous road. It bypasses Dawson Creek. So I'm going to give that a try. This little detour turned out to be a great choice. It was a welcome break from those endless miles on the Alcan Highway. So Route 29 was a good choice. It was much different than riding on the Alcan, which is not that exciting going through this area. Nice curvy roads, little construction, but I made it to Chetwynd, and now I'm having a little bit of lunch before pushing on for the next 3 hours to get to Prince George. 2 hours to go. I'm a little tired today, so I'm gonna look forward to getting in there and grabbing some grub and so forth. Ray's gonna join me again while I'm there, so said looking forward to getting in there. But 2 more hours. It was a long day, but I kept pushing on and finally made it into Prince George. After I got settled, I decided to check out my bike and see just how dirty it was before I had to head down and get it serviced in a couple of days. Okay, so I made it here. So I made it here to Prince George, I don't know, about an hour ago, I say. And it was a good day. The last part of the ride went pretty quickly. It was wet at first, of course, in the morning, as it always seems to be. But then it cleared up, and it was actually pretty darn warm here when I got here. About 78 degrees. So now I'm gonna head over here and grab some dinner. Ray, who met me here last time, is gonna meet me here again, and said we'll catch up, and I'm sure you're gonna want to know how my trip and everything has went. So all right, tomorrow I head out to Kamloops, and then the following day I head into the US again. On day 35, I was headed from Prince George into Kamloops, and I had something interesting happen to me along the way. I won't make any comments here, I'll just let you watch. All right, so I'm about an hour away from Kamloops right now, and boy, has the temperature changed. I was complaining about 50s and raining just a couple of days ago. Well, now it's in the 90s, right? So I'm not complaining though, I love it, right? So I've got all the vents open, drinking water. I did stop to have a root beer float here at the A&W. Did you know, at least here in Canada, they've discontinued root beer floats? I mean, what the? Yeah, you know, what are it's an A&W. Now, I was a little disappointed that I couldn't get my root beer float because the temperatures had climbed up, well, just over 100. But other than that, I had a great ride going into Kamloops. For this stay in Kamloops, I decided to stay at the Sandman Signature, which was in the downtown area. Now, of course, there was a little construction, making it kind of interesting to get in, but once I did, it was actually in a really cool area. So I'm here in Kamloops now. I'm at the Sandman Signature downtown, and we'll see how it is getting out of here in the morning. It's a little confusing. There's some construction and stuff going on around here, but I'll make it. But here's an interesting thing, is that once again, I am down here at the far end of the hallway. I can't tell you how many times on this trip I have been stuck down here at the very last room in the hallway. I know it's not a conspiracy or anything, but it is kind of interesting. Now, the nice thing about this hotel is they have 2 restaurants here, and they have access to the downtown area right out their front door. And I saw some people walking around with ice cream, so I may have to go find that. Found myself some ice cream. I'm just gonna go walk around this little park a little bit here, check it out. Good morning. It is day 36 now. Came down to grab some coffee and, well, check on the motorcycle. It's still there, thank goodness. And I don't know, apparently there's something going on at the train station behind me. So I guess there's a train coming in. So I'm gonna have this coffee, and then we'll get packed up and we'll get on the road heading to Spokane today. So I'll be crossing back into the US. Howdy, nice hat.
Thank you.
Riding from Prince George into Kamloops, it was remarkable to me how quickly the geography changed, going from thick forests to a more desert-like environment. And as I continued to head south, going towards the Washington border, those changes continued to intensify. After a morning of riding on the Canadian highway system, I made a turn to go along the shores of Lake Okanagan. Having a great morning so far. I made it to Peachland, and Soyos is about 100 kilometers or so up the road. And then I'll be crossing over into the US. So I stopped and I'm having a nice scone here and a glass or a cup of coffee before I continue on. If you're riding in this area, I can highly recommend the Bliss Bakery and Bistro. A really nice environment and great food. So this is Lake Okanagan, and I'm going to be traveling along it for, well, quite a while here now. It's a pretty kind of long, narrow lake. So it's beautiful here, and the last time I came through, I was really amazed at how this area reminds me so much of Southern California, right? And it still does. Just the nature of the hills and the housing, it's pretty wild. Lake Okanagan gets its name from the First Nation people who lived in this area, and it's one of 5 fjord-type lakes in this area of British Columbia. About 10,000 years ago, the glaciers that filled the valleys in this area melted and in turn filled them with fresh water. Lake Okanagan is 79 miles long, or 127 kilometers, and it has a maximum depth of 232 meters, or about 762 feet. Okanagan is also said to be the home of Ogopogo, Canada's version of the Loch Ness Monster. The origins of the Ogopogo myth are said to date back to the First Nations people which lived around the lake. They called it a water demon or water god, whose name I'm not going to try to pronounce. Modern sightings of Ogopogo date back to 1872 and are said to still occur today. Yep, more construction. Taking this route along Lake Okanagan, you are going to run into some traffic and an occasional construction project. But you're also going to ride through miles and miles of farmland where they raise citrus fruit, peaches, cherries, and wine grapes.
I'm in Soyos now, and I'll be crossing the border here in a few minutes. And yes, it is hot today. Again, that's not really the biggest problem, at least for me. What's the problem is all the people in my way. You know, man, there's a lot of traffic. I don't remember it being this congested the last time I went through here. But, you know, it's been 7 years, so I'm sure there's a lot more stuff to do in this area than there was before. But, you know, you get behind some guy who's going 60 looking for wineries. You know, it's an 80 mile or 80 kilometer an hour zone. He's going 60 kilometers an hour. But, all right, what are you going to do? Hopefully we'll get over the border here shortly, and maybe things will open up.
And of course, things did eventually open up. I crossed the border into Washington, headed through a desert area, and then back into the mountains as I made my way towards Grand Coulee.
Stopped in Colville or Colville, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, at a little trading post here. I don't know, I got another 15-20 miles to the Grand Coulee Dam and then a couple hours left to Spokane. So, yeah, hanging in there, doing good.
Last time I was in this area, we took a slightly different route heading towards US 2. We stayed on Route 17 down to 2, but this time I decided to take Washington 155, which, as you saw, went through some mountains and then back into these desert areas. And the reason I did that is because I thought it might be cool to see the Grand Coulee Dam. And while not as spectacular as something like the Hoover Dam, I always marvel at the ingenuity it takes to build these kinds of structures. Finishing off the day on US 2, I made sure to stick pretty close to the speed limit. Because if you remember from last time, we came home with some little presents. Well, I made it to Spokane, and yep, ran into some traffic. I thought to myself, hey, I wonder if Washington has legalized lane splitting. I said, well, I'll just wait for other bikes and see what they do. Now, did I see another idiot out there in this traffic? No, not at all. And by the way, lane splitting is not legal in Washington.
All right, I'm here, I made it, I'm in Spokane. Long day. A lot of stuck in traffic today. At the end, when I was coming in a couple of times and out there on the road as well. I guess the one good thing is that, let's go to the corner. There is a car wash across the street. So I'm gonna walk over here, make sure they have what I need, to wash the bike before I head over.
No, this car wash was not what I was looking for, but luckily there was one right down the street with a stall I could pull the bike into. Other than cleaning the windscreen a couple of times, this was the first wash that this bike has had in 36 days. And I know that the mechanics will appreciate having the bike at least a little bit cleaner than it was before.
So I'm here at the Triumph dealer in Spokane and having the bike worked on. So there's a little coffee shop here, White Dog Coffee, and I'm grabbing a breakfast sandwich and a coffee. So they're taking care of me here. Got my coffee and my breakfast sandwich, so now I'm just waiting.
All in all, it was a nice morning hanging out at Empire Power Sports, and I got to talk to a fellow rider who was having his machine worked on.
All right, we're all done. It's all serviced. New tires on the bike. We're ready to go for the next 4,000 miles. Now I have to head to Best Buy for a bit. Found the Best Buy. Now what I needed to come here for is a new backup drive. I brought a 3 terabyte backup drive that so far I have filled, right, with mainly 360 videos. Them things are friggin' huge. I didn't expect to fill up a 3 terabyte drive with them. I knew there was going to be a lot. So I have now an additional 5 terabytes. Hopefully that will get me home. And since we have the rest of the day off, it's time to do wash again. So I've had a pretty successful day so far. I took the bike in, we had it serviced. You know, I got new oil, had them go through essentially what's a 10,000 mile service, and I had new tires put on the bike. Now, let's talk about this for a minute, because I had posted out on Facebook that I was thinking about getting new tires, and I showed everybody what the status of my current tires are. I have about 8,500 miles, 8,525 to be exact, on those tires. And I mean, they probably definitely could have gone another 3,000 miles or so. Could they have made the 4,000 that I was going to need to get back home? I don't know. Some people think so. Some people like to ride their tires until they're pretty bald in the center. I'm not one of those guys. I prefer to change them a little bit early rather than to change them a little bit late. So here I am, 4,000 miles from home. I have a dealer who has the tires and can do the change right here, right now. Or I get on the bike and I ride it for another 3,000 miles or so, and I find out that, well, you know, I probably should get some new tires now. Now, where do I find a dealer to do it? And are they going to have the tires in stock? Right? So this is the dilemma, right? I am about halfway or a little more than halfway through my trip now. So it seems like this is a good time to go ahead and change those out, even if it's a little bit early. Then I don't have to worry about it, and I can just, again, have a great, relaxing rest of the trip.
Clothes are done, so I can fold those and then do a little backup work with my new hard drive before heading to dinner.
Right, next on the agenda for this day off is food. I haven't had anything to eat since I had that breakfast sandwich about 9 o'clock in the morning. It's 3 o'clock right now, so we're gonna have a early dinner, I think. There's a Mexican food place across the street, So that is going to be our choice for today. Haven't had any Mexican yet on this trip, so seems like a good time to do it. What do you think? Taking my life in my hands?
Chips are good, and salsa's got a little bite. I opted for the enchiladas Jalisco. 3 different enchiladas.
Well, that was pretty good. I'm definitely full up right now. So that's good. Now, what do I do with the rest of my day?
Coming up in part 8, I ride some of the best motorcycle roads in the country, see some big teeth, an old cowboy, have some more Mexican food, and enjoy a cigar before heading for home.